Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time to a place that, for centuries, was the last stop for many of England's most famous and infamous figures. A place of power and paranoia, of privilege and profound despair. We're going to the Tower of London, but not as tourists with cameras and a guide. We're going there as a new prisoner, a fresh face in a fortress of fear. You've just been dragged through the muddy, crowded streets of London, the roar of the city fading behind you as you're led toward the great White Fortress on the banks of the River Thames. The air is cold and damp, filled with the salty tang of the river and a smell you can't quite place, a mix of old stone, wood smoke, and something else. Something deeply unsettling. This isn't a place you want to be. This is a place where you don't survive. And you, in all your privileged existence, are about to become a part of its grim history. You're walking across the causeway, the stones slick with river spray, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. The great walls rise around you, so impossibly tall and thick they seem to be a part of the very earth itself. This is not just a building, it's a symbol. It's a symbol of the king's power, of his absolute authority, and of his terrible wrath. You've heard the stories, the hushed whispers of what happens to people here, the tales of torture, of execution, of forgotten souls who simply vanished into the shadows of the tower. But those were just stories. Weren't they tales told to scare children into behaving? Now, you're about to find out they were all too real. Your clean clothes are torn, your hands are bound, and the guards leading you are silent. Their faces grim, their footsteps echoing with a finality that sends a chill down your spine. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's always wild to think about us all connecting across time zones and distances, sharing these stories together. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're a new prisoner, and your journey into the heart of this fortress of fear begins. You're led through a series of massive gates, each one a little heavier, a little more menacing than the last. The portcullis, a great iron grate, clangs shut behind you, the sound echoing through the stone corridors like a funeral bell. This is it. There's no turning back. You are a new prisoner, a fresh face in the grim history of this place. The air is colder in here, the light dimmer, and the silence is so profound it's almost a physical presence. The guards leading you are silent, their faces hidden in the shadows, their footsteps the only sound in this world of stone and despair. This is a place that has been a royal palace, a royal mint, and an armory, but its most enduring and infamous role has always been as a prison. This is a common historical fact, a truth that has been whispered for centuries. But for you, it's not a historical fact. It's a terrifying, life-altering reality. You are about to become a statistic, a footnote in a long, dark history of suffering and death. You're led through the labyrinthine corridors, past ancient stone walls that seem to be sweating with the cold. You can feel the weight of centuries of history pressing down on you, the ghosts of the past reaching out to touch your skin. Your captors are leading you to the bell tower, a grim, forbidding structure that stands apart from the main fortress. The name itself is an ominous joke. It's called the Bell Tower, but the only bell that tolls here is the one that signals the end of a prisoner's life. You're pushed into a small, dank cell, the door slamming shut behind you with a sound that seems to suck all the air out of the room. This is your new home. It's a dark, cold, and utterly desolate place. The only light comes from a tiny, barred window high up on the wall, a window that shows you only a small patch of gray sky inside the cell. The cold seeps into your very bones. The air is thick with the smell of damp stone, stale air, and something else. Something that smells like fear and desperation. The floor is covered in a thin layer of straw, damp and dirty. The only furniture is a rough wooden bench and a small, rusted bucket in the corner. This is your world now. A world of 4 stone walls and a single, tiny window. You try to stand up, but your legs are weak, your body trembling with a combination of fear and cold. You collapse onto the straw, the rough stalk scratching at your skin. This is a little-known detail about the tower's prisons. While some prisoners, particularly the wealthy or well-connected, were given relatively comfortable accommodations, most were thrown into cells like this one. They were dark, damp, and unsanitary. The straw on the floor was rarely changed, and it was a breeding ground for vermin and disease. The bucket in the corner, your only toilet, was emptied infrequently, if at all. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? The difference between a comfortable prison cell and a horrifying one was often a matter of your social standing. A final, cruel irony in a place that was supposed to be the great equalizer of a monarch's wrath. You lie there, shivering in the straw, listening to the sounds of the tower. You can hear the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the faint murmur of voices, and the endless, gentle lapping of the river against the fortress walls. But what you can't hear is more important. You can't hear laughter. You can't hear music. You can't hear the sounds of life. This is a place that has been drained of all joy, of all hope, of all humanity. This is a place that has been built for one purpose and one purpose alone: to break you. The academic debate still rages: were the prisoners of the tower truly broken by their isolation and their physical suffering? Or did they find a way to maintain their spirit, their sanity, and their dignity in the face of such overwhelming despair? Did they use their time in the tower to write letters, to plan their escape, or to simply go mad? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of all three. The tower was a place that tested the limits of human endurance, a place that pushed people to the very edge of their sanity. Some broke, some survived, and some, in their final, desperate moments, found a strength they never knew they had. Your first night in the tower is a slow, agonizing descent into a world of sensory deprivation. The cold seeps into your bones, the dampness clinging to your clothes like a second skin. The straw on the floor rustles with the movement of unseen creatures, a subtle but constant reminder of your new reality. You try to sleep, but sleep is impossible. Your mind is a whirlwind of fear, of regret, of anger. You think of your family, of your friends, of the life you once had. A life that now seems a million miles away. A life that you may never see again. The silence of the night is broken only by the distant, mournful cries of a bird and the relentless, chilling hum of the wind whistling through the cracks in the stone walls. This is your life now. This is your home. And this is the beginning of your grim journey into the heart of the fortress of fear. The first night in your cell is a sensory assault, a grim welcome to your new reality. You lie on the damp, dirty straw, shivering with a cold that seems to come not just from the stone walls, but from the very air itself. The darkness is absolute, a thick, smothering blanket that presses down on your eyes. You try to close them, to find some measure of peace, but every nerve in your body is screaming. Your senses, deprived of their usual inputs, are now heightened to an agonizing degree, and the silence of the night is anything but silent. First, there are the smells. The air is thick with the scent of mildew and stale stone. You can smell the river, a briny, cold odor that seeps in through the cracks in the walls. But there is another smell, a smell that makes your stomach clench. It's the smell of unwashed bodies, of human waste, of a place that has been a prison for centuries. It's a smell that tells you in no uncertain terms, that you are not the first, and you will not be the last. To suffer here, you try to cover your nose, to block it out. But the smell is everywhere, clinging to your clothes, to your hair, to your very skin. Then there are the sounds. The silence of the night is an illusion. You can hear the rats, their tiny claws scratching at the stone floor. They're scurrying a constant, unsettling presence in the darkness. You can hear the distant, mournful cries of the ravens. The great, black birds that have been a symbol of the tower for centuries. But the most terrifying sounds are the ones you can't identify. A soft moan from a nearby cell, a muffled sob, a faint, rhythmic tapping that seems to be coming from deep within the walls. Are these the sounds of other prisoners? Or are they the ghosts of the past? The echoes of centuries of suffering you don't know. And the not knowing is more terrifying than any answer. The physical discomfort is a constant, a relentless torment that keeps you from finding any measure of rest. The cold seeps into your bones, a deep, aching chill that no amount of shivering can shake. The dampness clings to your clothes, making you feel heavy and unclean. The straw on the floor is a constant irritant, scratching at your skin, reminding you of the vermin that share your cell. Your hands are still bound, the ropes digging into your wrists, cutting off the circulation. You try to shift, to find a more comfortable position. But there is no comfort here. There is only stone, cold, and pain. This is a common historical fact. By the way, while we tend to romanticize the Tower of London as a place of intrigue and political drama, the reality for most prisoners was a grinding, agonizing existence of physical discomfort and sensory deprivation. It was designed to be a hell on earth, a place where a prisoner's spirit could be broken long before their body was the cold, the dark, the damp. These were not just incidental details, they were tools of the trade. Weapons used to soften a prisoner, to make them more pliable, more willing to confess. As the night drags on, you begin to understand the real purpose of this place. It's not just a prison, it's a machine designed to strip you of your humanity. It's a place that takes away your senses, your comfort, your dignity. It's a place that forces you to confront the reality of your situation, to understand, in the most visceral way possible, that you are alone, you are helpless, and you are in the hands of people who see you not as a person, but as a problem to be solved. You can no longer pretend that this is a temporary situation, a minor inconvenience that will soon pass. This is your life now, and it is a life of unimaginable suffering. The academic debate still rages. Did the physical suffering of the prisoners in the tower truly break them? Or did it strengthen their resolve, their defiance, their will to live? Did the sensory deprivation lead to madness? Or did it force them to find a new kind of inner strength? A new way of surviving in a world that was designed to break them? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of both. The tower was a place that pushed people to the very edge of their sanity, a place that forced them to find a strength they never knew they had. But it was also a place that broke people, a place that took a sane, rational human being and turned them into a shivering, gibbering wreck. As dawn finally breaks, a thin, gray light seeping in through the tiny window. You are exhausted, but you are not defeated. You are still a prisoner, still alone, still cold and hungry. But you have survived the first night. You have endured the grim welcome, the sensory assault, the physical discomfort. You have seen the darkness, and you have survived it. But this is just the beginning. The long, agonizing journey of your imprisonment is just starting, and the tower has many more terrors to show you, many more ways to test your spirit, to test your will to live. You are about to discover that the physical discomfort of the first night was a mere prelude to the psychological torment of the days, weeks, and months to come. after the brutal assault on your senses of that first night. The following days and weeks bring a different, more insidious form of torment, the weight of solitude. You are a prisoner of isolation. Your world has shrunk to the four cold stone walls of your cell. The only human contact you have is with the guards who bring you a meager portion of food and water each day. They are silent, their faces impassive, their eyes giving away nothing. They are not people. They are extensions of the fortress itself. Cold, unfeeling, and utterly indifferent to your suffering. This is a common historical fact that we often forget when we think about famous prisoners in the tower. We imagine them writing letters, plotting their escape, or being visited by their loved ones. But for most, particularly those considered a threat to the crown, isolation was the main weapon used against them. It was a form of psychological torture, a way to break a prisoner's will without ever laying a hand on them. The human mind is not built for such profound solitude, and it needs connection, it needs conversation, it needs the simple, comforting presence of another person, and without it, it begins to unravel. You find yourself talking to the walls, whispering to the rats, and having long, rambling conversations with yourself. Your own voice becomes a stranger to you, an echo in the darkness. You begin to forget the sound of laughter, the warmth of a touch, the simple joy of a shared meal. The days and nights bleed into one another, marked only by the meager meals and the faint. Gray light that filters in through the tiny window. You lose track of time, of the seasons, of the very idea of a world outside your cell. Your mind, starved for stimulation, begins to create its own reality, a reality of half-remembered conversations and imaginary friends. But there is another constant presence in your cell, the ever-present threat of interrogation. You know it's coming. It's a sword hanging over your head, a constant source of dread. The guards, in their silent, impassive way, are a daily reminder that you are here for a reason, that the king's justice, or his paranoia, has brought you to this place. You spend your days rehearsing your answers, trying to imagine the questions, trying to find a way to navigate the treacherous political landscape that led you here. You're not just fighting for your life, you're fighting for your mind, for your sanity, for your very identity. This is a little-known detail about the tower's prisoners. Many of them were not simply thrown into a cell and forgotten. They were held in a state of constant psychological warfare, their isolation punctuated by moments of intense, terrifying interrogation. They were held in the dark, starved for human contact, and then, at a moment's notice, they would be dragged out and questioned, often for hours on end, by men who were masters of manipulation and psychological torment. The goal was not just to get a confession, it was to break them, to make them doubt their own memories, their own beliefs, their own sanity. The academic debate still rages. Did the psychological torment of the tower's prisons make the prisoners more likely to confess to crimes they didn't commit? Or did it strengthen their resolve, their defiance, their commitment to their own innocence? Did the solitude drive them mad? Or did it force them to find a new, deeper strength, a new way of surviving in a world that was designed to break them? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of both. The tower was a place that tested the limits of human endurance, a place that pushed people to the very edge of their sanity. Some broke, some survived, and some, in their final, desperate moments, found a strength they never knew they had. The walls of your cell are no longer just stone. They are a canvas for your mind's darkest imaginings. The solitude is a constant hum, a white noise of despair. But as time drags on, you begin to notice that you are not entirely alone. The tower, you realize, has secret inhabitants. They are not ghosts, but fellow prisoners. People from every walk of life who have also fallen afoul of the king's wrath. You can't see them, but you can hear them. You learn their stories, their triumphs, and their tragedies through a silent, secret language of taps on the wall, of muffled whispers carried on the wind, of a shared, profound suffering that transcends the physical barriers of the cells. This is a common historical fact, a truth that has been passed down through centuries of tower prisoners. They developed ingenious ways of communicating with each other, using everything from tapping codes on the walls to carving messages into the stone itself. These messages, many of which still exist today, are a powerful testament to the human spirit's refusal to be broken. They are a record of love, of defiance, of humor, and of the unshakable belief that they were not alone. Your world, once a place of total solitude, is now a place of silent conversations, of a shared, secret community of the condemned. You learn of a disgraced nobleman in a nearby cell, a man who once held immense power and influence. His taps are slow and deliberate, a rhythm of despair and regret. You learn of a common criminal, a man who was caught stealing a loaf of bread to feed his family. His taps are quick and frantic, a rhythm of fear and desperation. You learn of a woman, a scholar who dared to question the king's authority. Her taps are a steady, defiant beat, a rhythm of unshakable resolve. You, in your own way, become a part of this community. Your own taps, at first hesitant and unsure, become a part of the tower's rhythm, a silent message of your own fear, your own defiance, and your own will to survive. But there is a little-known detail about this secret communication. It was not always a source of comfort, it was also a source of incredible danger. The guards, in their relentless quest to break the prisoners, were always listening, always watching. They would often use these taps to their advantage, pretending to be a fellow prisoner, luring a new inmate into revealing a secret, a confession, a piece of information that could be used against them. It was a cruel and cynical game, a game that you have to learn to play, or risk everything. You are a part of this community, but you are also a part of this silent, deadly game of deception and betrayal. The academic debate still rages. Were these secret communications truly a source of strength for the prisoners? Or were they just another form of self-deception? A way to cling to a false sense of hope in a place where hope was a dangerous luxury? Did these silent conversations truly connect them? Or did they just create a new, more insidious form of paranoia and fear? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of both. The tower was a place that tested the limits of human endurance, a place that pushed people to the very edge of their sanity. But it was also a place where the human spirit, in its infinite capacity for resilience, found a way to survive, to connect, to refuse to be broken. Even in the face of the most profound and unimaginable despair, the days stretch into weeks, the weeks into months. Your life has become a grim, monotonous rhythm of cold, damp, and fear. The silent conversations you have with your fellow prisoners, the ones carried on through taps and whispers, are a lifeline, a thin thread of connection in a world of profound isolation. But even that is a dangerous game, one that can be used against you at any moment. You are a prisoner in a fortress designed to break you, and every day is a test of your will, of your sanity, of your very humanity. And then, one day, something incredible happens. A glimmer of hope. It starts with a simple act, a small gesture of kindness from one of the guards. This is a little-known detail that often gets lost in the brutal history of the tower. Not all of the guards were cruel, and not all of them were indifferent. Some were men with families, men with a sense of compassion, men who were just doing a job in a terrible place. Your guard, a gruff, silent man who has brought you your food for months, does something that defies his training, that defies the very nature of this place. He leaves a small, folded piece of paper with your meal. You unfold it with trembling hands, It's a drawing, a simple sketch of a bird. It's a crude, simple drawing, but for you, it is a masterpiece. It's a connection to the outside world, a reminder that there is a world beyond these stone walls, a world of life and beauty and freedom. It's a reminder that not all of humanity has been drained from this place. It's a small act, a quiet rebellion, but for you, it is a monumental thing. It is a flicker of hope in the overwhelming darkness, a reminder that even in the most terrible of places, a small act of kindness can change everything. This glimmer of hope is followed by a rare and unexpected encounter. You are taken from your cell, not for an interrogation, but for a simple walk in the small courtyard outside the bell tower. The sun, a rare and beautiful sight, warms your face. The air, though still damp, smells of fresh earth and growing things. You are still a prisoner, still surrounded by guards, but for a few minutes, you're outside. You are a part of the world again, and it is in this moment, this brief reprieve from your daily despair, that you see her. She is a woman of immense grace and dignity, a fellow prisoner, who is also being given a moment of fresh air. Her eyes meet yours across the courtyard, and in them, you see a lifetime of defiance, of suffering, and of unshakable resolve. She offers you a small, almost imperceptible nod, a silent message of solidarity, of shared experience, of a mutual understanding that you are both in this terrible place. But you are not broken. It's a fleeting moment, a brief, silent conversation, but it is enough. It is a reminder that you are not alone, that there are others who are fighting the same battle, others who have found a way to maintain their dignity in the face of unimaginable suffering. This is a common historical fact that often gets romanticized in stories about the tower. The encounters between prisoners, though rare and brief, were often a source of immense strength and comfort. They were a reminder that even in the most isolated of places, a shared sense of humanity could break through the barriers of stone and fear. They were a testament to the power of the human spirit to find connection, to find hope, to find a reason to keep going. Even in the face of the most profound and unimaginable despair, the academic debate still rages. Did these small acts of kindness and these brief moments of connection truly offer a reprieve from the daily despair? Or were they just a cruel reminder of the freedom that had been taken away? Did they strengthen the prisoner's resolve? Or did they just make the suffering more acute, more painful? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of both. The tower was a place that tested the limits of human endurance, a place that pushed people to the very edge of their sanity. But it was also a place where the human spirit, in its infinite capacity for resilience, found a way to survive, to connect, to refuse to be broken. Even in the face of the most profound and unimaginable despair, the glimmer of hope from the small drawing and the brief encounter with the woman in the courtyard has faded, leaving you with a more profound sense of loneliness. That small taste of connection only made the solitude more acute, the silence of your cell more deafening. Your mind, which once sought solace in these small moments, is now consumed by a more sinister obsession, the anatomy of betrayal that led you here. You spend your days and nights replaying every conversation, every handshake, every smile. You're trying to find the crack, the flaw, the lie that led to your imprisonment. You are no longer just a prisoner, you are a detective. And the crime is your own life. This is a common historical fact about the tower's prisoners. Many of them were not just victims of the king's paranoia, they were victims of their own political ambition, of the jealousy of their rivals, of the treacherous, backstabbing world of the royal court. The tower was a place where old scores were settled, where rivals were eliminated, where a single, whispered lie could lead to a lifetime of imprisonment or a swift, brutal execution. You are a part of this history, a victim of the very system you once sought to master. The tower is a place that strips you of your freedom, but it also strips you of your illusions, forcing you to confront the ugly reality of the world you once inhabited. You remember the day you were arrested, a sunny, beautiful afternoon in the heart of London. You were at a banquet, surrounded by your friends, your family, your political allies. The wine was flowing, the music was playing, and the air was thick with the scent of roasted swan and sweet perfumes. And then the guards came. They didn't come with a warrant, they came with a simple command from the king. You were accused of treason, of a crime so vague and so terrible that no one dared to question it. You remember the faces of your friends, a mix of shock, fear, and something else, a look of cold, calculating satisfaction. You realize now that they knew. They knew this was coming. They were a part of it. This is a little-known detail that often gets lost in the grand narratives of the tower. The prisoners were not just taken, they were often betrayed. They were set up by their rivals, their enemies, their so-called friends. The tower was not just a place of punishment, it was a final, brutal stage in a long, ongoing political drama. The men and women who were brought here were often the victims of a game they didn't even know they were playing. A game of power and ambition that was far more dangerous than any sword fight or battle. The academic debate still rages. Did the prisoners' obsession with the betrayal that led them to the tower truly help them to understand their situation? Or did it just drive them mad? Did the constant replaying of the past help them to find a way forward? Or did it just trap them in a cycle of bitterness and regret? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of both. The tower was a place that forced you to confront your past, to understand your mistakes, to come to terms with your own vulnerabilities. But it was also a place that could trap you in that past, a place that could make you lose your mind in a never-ending cycle of regret and bitterness. You are a detective of your own life, but the case may never be solved, and the final verdict may never be heard. And that is the most agonizing torment of all. The chilling realization of betrayal has become the new ghost in your cell, a constant companion that haunts your every waking moment. You are no longer just fighting the cold and the solitude, you are fighting the bitter, corrosive poison of regret and anger. You've been stripped of your illusions, and in their place, a terrible, unforgiving reality has taken hold. But the tower has more ghosts to show you, and they are far more terrifying than the ones your mind has created one day. A guard, the same one who gave you the drawing of the bird, gives you a new chore. You are to clean out a small, forgotten storeroom in the White Tower, a place that has been sealed off for centuries. You are given a bucket of water, a rough rag, and a flickering candle. The storeroom is a dark, dusty place, filled with forgotten relics of the past. As you clean the floor, you uncover something that makes your blood run cold. There, carved into the very stone, are the names of two young boys, Edward Thefive and Richard, Duke of York. Beneath their names, in a different hand, is a simple, heart-wrenching message: we are forgotten. The names are a ghostly whisper, a chilling reminder of a gruesome historical fact that has haunted the tower for centuries. The story of the two young princes who were locked in the tower and who simply vanished. This is a common historical fact. Of course, but for you, a prisoner in this very same place, it is a visceral, terrifying reality. You are not just reading a history book. You are touching the evidence of a terrible crime. A crime that has been covered up for centuries. You are in the very place where these young boys, the rightful heirs to the throne, were last seen alive. You can feel their presence, their fear, their loneliness. You can almost hear their whispers, their cries, their final, desperate prayers. It's a moment of profound and deeply unsettling connection to the tower's most infamous ghosts. But there is a little-known detail that often gets lost in the story of the princes. It's the story of the Bloody Tower. the place where they were supposedly held. The room you are cleaning is in a different part of the fortress. In the White Tower, the oldest and most imposing part of the tower. The fact that the prince's names are here, in this forgotten storeroom, is a chilling reminder that the truth of their disappearance is far more complicated and far more terrifying than the official story. The tower is not just a place of punishment, it is a place of secrets, a place of lies, a place where the truth is often buried, and the only evidence of it is a few hastily carved names in a dark, dusty storeroom. The academic debate still rages: did the princes truly vanish in the Bloody Tower? Or were they moved to a different part of the fortress? To a place where their cries would be heard by no one was the king, Richard III, truly responsible for their deaths. Or was it a different, more powerful figure who sought to eliminate them? And what about the remains of 2 children that were found under a staircase in the tower centuries later? Were they truly the remains of the princes? Or were they just a convenient discovery to put an end to the debate? The truth, as is often the case, is shrouded in the mists of history. And the only thing that remains is the chilling, heart-wrenching evidence of a terrible crime. A crime that has haunted the tower for centuries, and that is now haunting you. You are a prisoner in the Tower of London, but you are also a ghost of the past, a ghost of a crime that has gone unsolved for centuries. You are a living testament to the fact that the tower is not just a prison, it is a tomb. A place where the living and the dead, the innocent and the guilty, the powerful and the weak are all buried together, their stories forever intertwined in the cold, damp stone, and you, in your own way, have just become a part of their story. The chilling encounter with the names of the princes in the forgotten storeroom has left you with a new, profound sense of despair, your own imprisonment. Once the central drama of your life is now just a footnote in a long, dark history of suffering and death. You are a prisoner in a tomb, a place where the living and the dead, the innocent and the guilty, are all buried together. The solitude, the cold, the hunger, it all pales in comparison to the chilling, heart-wrenching reality that you have just discovered. And then, one day, something incredible happens. A sudden, unexpected reprieve. The guards come to your cell, not to take you for interrogation, but to take you for a walk. But this is not a walk in the small, grim courtyard. This is a walk outside the walls of the tower itself. A taste of freedom. You are still a prisoner, still bound, still surrounded by guards. But for a brief moment, you are outside. You are a part of the world again. You are led across the causeway. The stones slick with river spray, and you are taken to a small, private garden on the banks of the Thames. The air is fresh and clean, filled with the scent of flowers and the salty tang of the river. The sun, a rare and beautiful sight, warms your face. You can hear the sounds of the city, the distant roar of the crowds, the clatter of carts on the cobblestones, the ringing of a church bell. It's a sensory assault, a beautiful, overwhelming reminder of the world you once inhabited, a world that now seems a million miles away. This is a little-known detail that often gets lost in the brutal history of the tower. Some prisoners, particularly those who were well-connected or who were considered to be of a high social standing, were given these small, temporary reprieves from their imprisonment. It was a way for the king to show a measure of mercy, a way to keep a prisoner from going completely mad, or a subtle, psychological tool to remind a prisoner of what they had lost. For you, it's a mix of all three. It's a taste of freedom, a beautiful, fleeting moment of hope, but it's also a cruel and painful reminder of the world that has been taken from you. You are given a simple, but beautiful meal. A small plate of roasted chicken, a piece of fresh bread, and a glass of wine. The food is a feast, the wine a nectar. and you eat and drink with a ravenous hunger that is not just for food, but for life itself. You are still a prisoner, but for a few minutes. You are a person again. You are a human being, not just a number. Not just a body in a cold, damp cell. The academic debate still rages. Did these temporary reprieves truly offer a reprieve from the daily despair? Or were they just a cruel reminder of the freedom that had been taken away? Did they strengthen the prisoner's resolve? Or did they just make the suffering more acute? More painful, the truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of both. The tower was a place that pushed people to the very edge of their sanity, a place that forced them to find a strength they never knew they had. But it was also a place that broke people, a place that took a sane, rational human being and turned them into a shivering, gibbering wreck. As the sun begins to set, a beautiful fiery orange and red, you are taken back to the tower, back to your cell, back to the cold, the dark, and the silence, the taste of freedom, the memory of the sun on your face and the scent of the flowers in the air is a beautiful, terrible memory. It is a memory that will either sustain you or it will drive you mad. The tower is a place that gives you a glimpse of hope, only to snatch it away, leaving you with a profound and heartbreaking sense of loss. You are a prisoner in the tower, but you have just learned that the most powerful form of torture is not physical pain, but a glimpse of the freedom that has been taken from you. The taste of freedom, the memory of the sun on your face and the scent of flowers, is a fragile thing. It is a memory that you cling to, a memory that you use to fight the cold, the dark, and the solitude. But the tower has one last, terrifying test for you. The temporary reprieve is over, and your imprisonment is about to culminate in a final, dramatic confrontation. One day, the guards come for you, not with a tray of food, not with a kind gesture, but with a look of grim finality in their eyes. You are being taken for a formal interrogation, a final reckoning with your accusers. You are led to a grand, echoing hall in the White Tower. The room is cold and vast, with a high, vaulted ceiling and ancient tapestries hanging from the walls. At one end of the hall, seated on a raised platform, are your accusers. They are the same people who once called you a friend, a colleague, an ally. Their faces are impassive, their eyes cold and calculating. They are not here to seek the truth. They are here to confirm the lie. They are here to put an end to your story. This is a common historical fact about the tower's prisoners. The interrogations were not always a secret, one-on-one affair. They were often a public spectacle, a chance for the crown to make an example of a prisoner, to send a message to anyone who dared to question their authority. The interrogations were not about justice. They were about power. They were about the state's ability to crush a person, to break their spirit, to erase their memory from the annals of history. You are a part of this spectacle, a final act in a long, ongoing drama of power, paranoia, and betrayal. The questions are not about the truth, they are about the narrative. They are not about your innocence, they are about your guilt. They are designed to trap you, to trip you up, to make you confess to a crime you didn't commit. They ask you about conversations you never had, about plots you never planned, about alliances you never forged. You are fighting for your life, for your innocence, for your very soul. But you are fighting against a tide of lies that is too strong to resist. You are alone, and your accusers are a united front, a wall of cold, unfeeling indifference. But there is a little-known detail that often gets lost in these stories of interrogation. The prisoners, in their final moments, often found a new kind of strength. They found a way to use their words not just to defend themselves, but to expose the lies of their accusers. They used their final words not to beg for mercy, but to speak the truth, to call out the hypocrisy, to expose the treachery of the very people who were trying to condemn them. It was a final, desperate act of defiance, a way to reclaim their dignity in a place that had stripped them of everything else. You, in your own way, find this strength. You look your accusers in the eye, and you tell them the truth. You expose their lies. You call out their betrayal. You tell them that they are not just condemning you, but they are condemning the very idea of justice itself. The academic debate still rages. Did the prisoner's final acts of defiance truly change the course of history? Or were they just a footnote in a long, ongoing drama of power and paranoia? Did their final words truly matter? Or were they just a desperate, meaningless cry into a void of indifference? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a mix of both. The tower was a place that tested the limits of human endurance, a place that pushed people to the very edge of their sanity. But it was also a place where the human spirit, in its infinite capacity for resilience, found a way to survive, to connect, to refuse to be broken. Even in the face of the most profound and unimaginable despair, the final verdict is delivered. It is, of course, a verdict of guilty. Your words, your defiance, your truth, none of it matters. The tower has won, but as you are led away, back to your cell, a strange sense of peace settles over you. You are a condemned man, a prisoner who is about to face the executioner. But you are not a defeated man. You have faced your accusers, you have spoken the truth, and you have, in your own way, won. You have reclaimed your dignity, your humanity, your very soul. And in a place like the tower, a place that is designed to take all of those things away, that is the most profound victory of all. The final verdict has been delivered, and the weight of it, once a crushing burden, now feels strangely light. You are a condemned man, a prisoner who is about to face the executioner, but you are not a defeated man. You have faced your accusers, you have spoken the truth, and you have, in your own way, won the final journey. The last walk of your life is about to begin. You are led from your cell, not with a look of grim finality, but with a strange sense of peace. The guards are silent, their faces still, but you can feel their eyes on you. A mixture of pity and respect. You are no longer just a prisoner. You are a man who is about to die with his dignity intact. The end of the journey is a short one. You are led through the corridors of the tower, the same corridors you were dragged through what feels like a lifetime ago. The sounds are different now. The distant clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the faint murmur of voices, they no longer sound menacing. They sound like the sounds of life, a life that you are about to leave behind. You walk past the bell tower, the place that has been your prison for so long, and you look up at the tiny, barred window of your cell. It looks different now. It looks like a place where you fought, where you survived, where you found a strength you never knew you had. It looks like a place where you won. You are led to the execution block, a place that has been a part of the tower's grim history for centuries. The crowd is silent, their faces a mixture of curiosity and sorrow. They are not here to cheer your death, they are here to witness it, to be a part of this final, tragic act. The executioner, a silent figure in a black hood, stands ready. You are given a moment to speak, a final chance to address the crowd, to tell them the truth one last time. You don't beg for mercy. You don't confess to a crime you didn't commit. You look at the crowd and you tell them your story. You tell them about the betrayal, about the lies, about the injustice. You tell them that the tower is not just a prison, it is a tomb, a place where the living and the dead, the innocent and the guilty, are all buried together. This is a common historical fact that often gets lost in the brutal history of the tower. The final words of the condemned were often a powerful and deeply moving testament to their innocence. A final act of defiance against a system that had stripped them of everything else. Their words, their stories, their final defiant cry. They were not just meaningless noise, that you see, like they were a part of history, a part of the story of the tower, a part of the story of the kingdom itself. And you, in your own way, have just become a part of that history. The executioner does his work, and your story in the Tower of London concludes. Your body is laid to rest, and your memory becomes a part of the tower's grim history. A new ghost in a fortress of fear. But your story is not just a story of death. It is a story of survival, of defiance, of a man who, in the face of the most profound and unimaginable despair, found a way to win. The tower may have taken your life, but it could not take your spirit, your dignity, your very soul. And in a place like the tower, a place that is designed to take all of those things away, that is the most profound victory of all. Now, as the long night finally begins to draw to a close, you can feel the quiet hum of the world, a low, gentle thrum of life and resilience. The terrible, silent world of the Tower of London is fading, its cold stone walls and its grim history a distant memory. You can feel yourself drifting, a soft, sleepy weight settling over you, as the long, grim journey of your imprisonment finally comes to an end. The lights are dimming. The hum of the fan is a soft whisper, and you can feel yourself sinking into a deep, peaceful sleep, a sleep that has been a long time coming. The story of the Tower of London is not just a story of suffering. It is a story of a place where a man, in the face of the most profound and unimaginable despair, found a way to win. And you, in your own way, have just become a part of that story.